Hey, this is Jonathan Smith, President of New York Metro Area Postal Union, and I want to give you an update on where we're at with the coronavirus. Let me assure you that your leadership is working very hard. I'm very proud of your leadership team, and I'm very proud of the membership because you are showing up, and we know that there's a lot of fear out there. There is a lot of concern out there, but you're showing up to work no different than we did when we were anthrax and they said that we were heroes. Well, let me tell you, right now, you are heroes. We do understand that we are essential employees, that the elderly depend on us to get their medicines and their checks out and stuff like that. So let me tell you that I'm proud, but I also know that we're not the only ones that's required to work during this very trying times. Many of my family members work at the hospital, and they're still required to go to work. And as I was coming in on the train conductors are still required to work. I got a friend that called me. He works for sanitation, and garbage is still required to be picked up. And stores, supermarkets are required to be open so we can get the supplies we need, just in case we need to be quarantined or there's an order for us to be sheltered within. So we are doing an amazing job of dealing with this pandemic. I have spoken with the Postal Service about their responsibility to constantly clean these surfaces and their responsibility to have gloves, masks, and hand sanitizer constantly available for these employees. But we have to help. We have to do our part. I have gotten reports that people are going around with water bottles, filling water bottles up with hand sanitizer, which does not make sense. Because yes, your hands is clean, but your coworker could be contracting the virus or been in contact with the virus, and they don't have the ability to clean their hands because we're hogging the sanitizer. This is we disease virus, not a me virus. So we have to work together to make sure we keep all of us protected. Let me also say this. Everyone is in danger because of this virus, but there are some people in greater danger. If you have respiratory issues, if you have kidney issues, liver issues, if you are diabetic, you would be at greater risk of contracting the virus, but you would be at even greater risk of death. My advice to you is to go to your medical physician, make an appointment with your medical physician, not once you get the coronavirus. Make that decision now. So that way they could possibly have you self-quarantine because of the level of risk that you're at. Also, other people, the Postal Service has said that they're going to have a liberal leave policy. I asked the Postal Service, what does a liberal leave policy look like? They said, well, if people have to be out and they could bring in documentation and listen, if you're sick, stay home. That's all I'm saying. If you having childcare issues, because the Postal Service understand that all the schools have been shut down, if you're having childcare issues, my advice to you is, if you can find childcare at certain times in the day, then put in for a change of schedule. At least you're showing that you're making an attempt to make an adjustment so you could come in and do the job that we so love to do. So these are the things that we're asking for liberal. They assured us that at this particular time, people have a right, if they have a legitimate concern of getting sick, to make a decision for themselves. And we will deal with those issues when we come. If people decide that they're just too scared to go to work, don't wait for somebody to give you permission not to come to work. You have to make that personal decision. The union can't make that decision for you, and management can't make that decision for you. You have to make a decision. Now, one of the problems is we have quite a few people within our area of representation that are presumed positive. What does presumed positive mean? It means that they have not been able to get tested yet, because it's hard getting tested sometimes, and it has not been confirmed that they have the coronavirus, but they have all the symptoms, and they have all the symptoms of the coronavirus. I am aware of the postal police that was in the Morgan facility that has been tested and presumed positive with coronavirus, and he has been quarantined. Also, there have been quite a few other officers that have been quarantined that was in direct contact with this individual, and there has been a team sent up to the area where they was working so that area could be thoroughly wiped down as CDC requires. So we are definitely on top of this to make sure. And CDC regulation says that anybody that is presumed positive or contracts the coronavirus must be interviewed. We need to interview them to see who they came in contact with, where you ate at, who were you around, not only for the protection of themselves, but for the protection of the entire workforce. Because the real danger of this disease is that it's being carried by people that's asymptomatic. What does asymptomatic means? Meaning you have people showing no visible signs. They have no signs whatsoever that they have the coronavirus. They don't have the shortness of breath. They don't have the fever. They don't have a cold, but they can be tested positive for the virus. So this is how this virus spreads. So it's important for you to constantly wash your hands, sanitize your hand on a regular basis. Please don't touch your face. Don't touch your eyes. Keep your hands away from your face, your eyes. Don't pull your gloves off, touch something, and then put a glove back on. That's going to do absolutely nothing. Before you take your gloves off, put hand sanitizers on your glove, then take them off, throw them gloves away, and get another pair. Don't act like you only could get one pair of gloves. If you don't feel comfortable, then wear a mask. Put a mask on. You have a right to a mask. This is a must that the Postal Service must provide. This is not an option. This is a right. So you can demand that you get these things. We also have had a report that a motor vehicle driver, a truck driver, is presumed positive, and that truck has been taken out of service, and that driver has been quarantined. Right now, the Postal Service is in the process of interviewing everybody that this driver possibly might have been around, and anybody that might have been in contact with that truck. Now, there is some disagreement. The union is asking that anybody that came in contact with that truck before it was taken out of service be quarantined. Be quarantined, and that way they won't carry the virus to other people. We also ask that the Postal Service look into the congregation at the clock. Instead of you possibly having to hit a time card, we're asking that possibly you put them on 1260. That way we can keep a safe distance from each other as required. When you go to the cafeteria, don't eat right on top of each other. Keep a distance from each other, 3 to 6 feet. Social distancing and what is required by the CDC. And if we take these safe measures, we will get through this pandemic. We are definitely on top of all the issues. A lot of people are frustrated. They said, why isn't the leadership coming to the stations? Well, we can't be at the stations and dealing with postal management at headquarters level and district levels and be at the stations, but you at the same time. We are coming around to the stations as much as we can, and we are trying to stay on top of every issue, every concern. Now, I don't want you to assume that we know something. Go to your steward if you hear something, even if it's a rumor, so they can bring it to us so we can inquire about it, so we can find out what's going on. Let me make something clear that in San Francisco, they have quarantined all of San Francisco, but the Postal Service is still open in San Francisco. The supermarkets are still open in San Francisco. The gas stations are still open in San Francisco because these are considered essential services, and the hospitals are still open in San Francisco. All we could do is the best that we could do. We have to make the best decisions for us and our family, and we can't wait for somebody else to do that for us. We are up here trying to do the best we can, and we definitely want to make sure that all the employees go home the same way they came, safe and sound. So if you have any questions, please call the union office, 212-563-7553. That's 212-563-7553. But most of all, stay safe. Follow the CDC regulations. Constantly wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And if we do these things, we will get through this, just like we have gotten through everything else before. We will do this, but most of all, we need to do this together. Until I have an opportunity to address you again and update you again on what's going on, I want to wish you all Godspeed, but most of all, God's protection.